Going live. Hello, beautiful friends, beautiful souls. Hopefully, everything is working here. I got me a new Mac, and hopefully, this Mac, it looks pretty clear. It's a little bright in here with that window, but it looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. My camera's in a different spot. Y'all can hear me. Give me a thumbs up in that there chat room. We are live from Sedona, Arizona, baby. Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully this looks good. It looks good. Looks good. I think it's working. How ironic is that? Awesome. Perfect. So welcome everybody. I hope you're having a great Friday. Great Friday. Today is Friday, February 23rd, 2024 in Sedona, Arizona at 5:22 p.m. Mountain Time. Which means in some other parts of the world, it is now Saturday, February 24th, like our friends in Japan and Australia, mate. Got some tea. I'm going to go through a whole bunch of list of questions that y'all sent in the chat from Tuesday's show. So keep that in mind. Y'all can hear me, right? Yes.
How do I sound now? Do I sound really, really good? This is my perfect voice, right?
I don't even know if that works while I'm live, but let's see if it works. Anyway, full moon tomorrow. Yes, actually, full moon is actually just over 12 hours away. 12 hours and 7 minutes to be exact is the full moon. 12 hours and 7 minutes. It's going to be a doozy. Speaking of doozies, I said in predictions for February to look out for the date, the 22nd. Well, you know what happened on the 22nd? We had that massive solar flare yesterday that took out many different communications. Verizon, AT&T, a bunch of others. Now, AT&T tried to make the claim that it had something to do with their new system or something. Then why would that affect all the rest of the systems? Verizon and everybody else. They don't want you to know. They don't want you to be worried over the fact that these sun flares can very much take away our grid, our communications, take down the internet for several weeks, which will happen in the future. Not the near future, but it will happen in the future. And it'll be down for a few weeks. It's going to be really, really interesting. Yes, it was a solar flare. You're incorrect. Incorrect. It was the solar flares, which do affect everything when it comes to communications, satellites, and everything. And the timing of it when it hit the Earth was absolutely perfect to the timing of when they lost their power. So it is what it is. Welcome, everybody in the chat room. Welcome, Empath and Brenda and Debbie and Maria. Maria. All right, let's get on with some questions. If you're new here, my name's Joseph Tittel. If you just happen to be tuning in live and saw this, it's a little bright with that sun. Not that the sun's out, but it's a little bright. If you're new here too, down below in the description, you will find the links to all my social media. Remember, you can find me, the Tuesday show, on Spotify, Rumble, everywhere. You can find all my content on all the platforms, but Spotify, it's Tuesday show, which is actually uploading now because I totally forgot to upload it this week on Spotify. So check me out there. Down below also, you'll find the link to the free newsletter. Check that out. Sign up so that you don't ever miss any live content or anything that's going on in the world. So let's go on to some questions. And it was actually someone mentioned in the comments, it was in my channeling video that something came up about the 22nd. But also, when we get these sun flares, not all of them, but when we get the big ones, they do bring in light codes that do shift our consciousness and shift everything for us. So if you're feeling a little tired, a little odd, a little weird today, especially, that would be why. I know I slept a lot last night, had a long night's sleep, but I had a hard time falling asleep. So this can be affected by the energies that come in. It can be affected by other things too, of course, like drinking caffeine past 5 p.m. Other than that, it's been interesting. So someone says that they live in Texas. Why has there been such an increase in cryptid sightings in our national parks, rural areas, and neighborhoods? Not just Bigfoot, but Dogman. What the heck is Dogman? I never heard of Dogman before. Pal crawlers, never heard of that either. Well, no, yeah, I know what the pal crawlers are. Never mind. Trolls and entities, never heard before. Love your podcast. Thanks so much for all that you do, Sherry. Is that Sherry Berry that sent that? Sherry Berry? I don't see in the chat right now. Don't see you. So it's not just Texas where there's more sightings of things happening. The thing with national parks, that hasn't been a secret at all for a long time. National parks is actually, especially in the United States, where a majority of people end up going missing. And yeah, some of those missing thing cases can be animals and other circumstances that cause people not to come back out of the national parks once they wander in. But at the same time, there's other things. There's a documentary. I forget what it's called. Isn't it a number like 303 or something like that? Maybe somebody in the chat will say it. It's a movie about the national parks. It talks about the missing people. There's a specific guy, I don't remember his name, but he researches all this and traces all these missing people in national parks. But to answer the question, why is this happening? It's not just Texas. We're going to see this everywhere. And it's in the Hopi prophecy. The Hopi prophecy talks in my video that I've done titled April 13th, 2029. Well, two videos I did. I also did a video called Hopi prophecy. And those videos, especially the April 29th, 2020, April 13th, 2029 video, is when Apophis comes in. But in that prophecy, which is referred to, you can look this prophecy up for yourself, the Hopi's Blue Kachina prophecy. And you have to make sure you look up the original Hopi Blue prophecy, Blue Kachina prophecy. Because, on the internet, things get altered and changed, just like Whisper Down the Lane. But in that prophecy, the natives, the Hopi people talked about portals that were going to open on the planet, allowing different types of entities, especially dark entities, to enter in onto the planet during what the Hopi called, well, people now call it the end of times, but the Hopi never said end of times. That whole end of times that people talk about and things are going to come to an end, it's going to end as we know it. But as far as end of humanity, that is no time in the future. Maybe 1,000 years down the road, but no time in the future. Now, a loss of a majority of humanity, yes, that's definitely on the horizon when the earth changes and everything come in. But going over to the Hopi Blue Kachina prophecy, it discusses exactly these portals opening up. Now, also, people would claim, conspiracy theorists, conspiracy realists, hey, that picture looks pretty good. I'm loving this new Mac, y'all. If this works, I can do lives more often. For the longest time, I was doing it from my phone, like my phone background. Ooh. The sugar skulls, baby, to honor your ancestors. So the portals are open, and many people and conspiracy theorists or realists will think that it's CERN. And there's photographs of things in the sky above CERN when they were activating the Hadron Collider. And there's just too much symbolism around the whole CERN, including their logo, which is actually 3 sixes. 3 sixes. Sixes connected actually to the letter X. And I know there's some questions here about the letter X, so I'll get to that in a few minutes. But yeah. Let me just do something here. Boom. Got it. Moving along. Thank you, Demi J, for your chat cash. And I'll look at that in a bit. Again, folks have a list of questions already that I'm going to go through first. And if I have time remaining, I'll answer other additional questions along the line as well. So, yes, it's the portals that are opening up to answer your question. And again, Sherry, it's the portals that are opening up that are allowing different dimensional and interdimensional beings to come in a little bit more clear. It's not just that, though. Here's the other aspect that's really important that you need to understand is that we are ascending these light codes, all these things, and it's been happening since 2012, really. But it's getting more and more and more intense, especially since 2020. Remember, 2020 represented the 2020 vision on a metaphoric and intuitive level, allowing us to see things. And many of you noticed, we talked about it during different energy shifts that we had last year where our visuals got more clear, colors got brighter, things like that. That is a part of the ascension symptoms. I actually also did a video, the 13 signs of ascension symptoms. So check that out. Look that up. It's a good one. Tells you all the different symptoms. So as we ascend and we open up and ascend on a spiritual level, we're becoming more sensitive to things. People are becoming much more psychic and intuitive. They're starting to pay more attention. That's why we see so many people waking up. That's all connected to people's intuition, where they were so blind to what was happening for so long. But now all of a sudden they see everything. Thank you, Zoli. You rock. Now they're not blind to it anymore. And more people. And some people ascend easier than others. Some are resistant, and some aren't going to do it at all. There's still going to be those that you're never going to see awaken. It is what it is. And they're the ones that'll be running around screaming at the end of it all. Oh my God, Armageddon's here. We're all going to, be unalived. That's not going to be the case, because there's going to be the other half of us that are looking at the world and saying, today's a beautiful day, an opportunity to make major, beautiful changes. And that's where we're heading into. So just had a lost train of thought. Just lost my train of thought. So you're becoming sensitive, and as you become sensitive, you're able to see things better, and see interdimensional beings, or these beings that are coming through these portals. Some of these beings, of course, are demonic, dark entities that are responsible for a lot of of course, all of the bad things that happen in the world as far as world conflicts and such. So moving on to my next question. Are we already in a different dimensional shift, like the Mandela effect, that will change the Earth's changes? Now, that's a loaded question, a little complicated of a question. If we're already in a different dimensional shift from the Mandela effect, will that change the Earth's changes? You can't change what the Earth is going to do. They can mess with the timelines, they can mess with all that and do whatever they want, but they're not going to prevent the Earth from shifting. It happens every so many thousand years. It's in all our history. There's evidence of all of it, including the planet Apophis, not the planet Nibiru or the planet X. It goes by many names. And the planet Wormwood, which is in the Holy Bible, which is actually, I have no doubt, the comet Apophis, which I have questions about that, and I'll get into that in a few minutes with the planet Apophis. Thank you, Connie Island Mermaid. Are you really an island mermaid? Did you watch my mermaid episode last week? Hopefully you did. Thank you for that love and support. I greatly appreciate it. So the Earth shift's changing anyway, and they can change the timelines to answer your question, but they're not going to change what the Earth is already going to do. But there's also this shifting that's happening in interdimensional for us and moving into a new Earth and a new thing. But those Earth changes are still going to occur. They're part of us shifting into that higher consciousness and shifting into the new Earth. So when do you see them causing climate disasters? Who's them? When do you see them causing climate disasters that will put us in lockdowns? So here's the thing. Here's a couple things. So now it just seems like every time there's a big earthquake, people automatically assume that it's being manipulated. And that is not the case at all, friends. Yeah, there has been some manipulation causing earthquakes and of course, weather manipulation like crazy. But this is also still very much connected to the Earth shifting. It's happening. Do your research. The poles have been shifting a specific percentage for quite some time, like, I don't know, at least a decade, right? Since 2011, I think it was 2011, actually, right before 2012, and the Aquarian age kicked in. So now people automatically assume it's all being caused by their manipulation, which some of it is. Don't get me wrong. I actually just saw some interesting footage this morning or last night of a laser shooting out of the sky towards a mountain. And lo and behold, as soon as it did, the volcano erupted like crazy. Now, again, I don't know how real it is because things on the internet can be very easily manipulated in videos, but it looked pretty darn real to me from the distance. And we know that they have that. We know what happened in Lahaina. We know what's happening in Chile right now. Again, if you do your research and all that, you will see that the WEF wants both those lands. They're already registered and put in applications for it before all this happened. Right? That's why they want to put their smart cities. But their smart cities will fail. They'll get smart cities up, but their agenda, what they're in their light for their enslavement to keep you in these cities is not going to work. People are not going to go for it. Thank you. Bring light, go to light, Carolyn. Yeah. So as far as answering that question, though, as far as climate disasters and lockdowns, I'm looking at 2029. And not all of it's going to be caused by them. Keep that in mind. They know what's coming. That's why they build their underground bunkers and all that. There's maps that have been channeled through by different people as far as what the maps of the world are going to look like in the future. I did a whole video on that. Safe zones, places where it'll be safer to be. That video is called Billionaire Bunkers. So look that up. Billionaire Bunkers and Safe Zones. It's a good one. Spent a lot of time on that, putting all that together for y'all. So if you want to know about safe zones and you want to know about that shift, what it's going to look like, and why billionaires are building all these underground bunkers and the government has an underground city, because they've known about this. That underground city up in the Ozarks, they built that decades ago. They've known about this for a long time. That's also part of the reason that they use their chemtrails as a way of, in the future, in order to block out so you can't see. And notice how a lot of times, depending on what state you're in, it seems like sunrise and sunset is when they seem to chemtrail a lot in front of the sun so you can't see it. Wonder why. Apophis comes in on Friday, April 13th, 2029. And I'll go into that a little bit more because I think there's a question about that. So 2029 is when I'm looking at climate lockdowns. Now, right, Spirit says that there will be other places around the globe where there are climate disasters and it'll be like a lockdown, more like a martial law. So, in the lockdown, actually, you got to watch. Well, there's a question about this actually in a moment. So I'll get to that question in a moment. Hold on. Welcome Catnip into the chat room, and Joyce and Animal, Rose. Would love to hear your input on the eclipse. It's coming up on April 8th, to be exact. Personally, I felt it was as powerful as the one we had in 2017. The eclipses this year are actually more powerful than they were back in 2017. Thank you so much, Bonnie Smith. With infinite love and gratitude, I am grateful. Oh, I hit the wrong button. All right. Where was I? So the eclipse is actually going to be more intense this year than ever, especially because we also have it backed by other astrological alignments, the 8 vibration, which is just infinite possibilities. And this is a huge year, a major shift and change, friends, unlike anything that we'd imagine. And it's all going to happen very quickly, very fast, very jam-packed. April is going to be a super busy month, especially when it comes to Earth events. And I would expect something pretty big to come out of Texas in April, and maybe even into May, because that eclipse finalized the X over Texas. The X. What is it with that number X, y'all? What is it with that number X? Thank you for taking time to click that thumbs up button and showing your love. So the eclipse, yeah, it is going to be more intense. I would expect something big to come from Texas, like bigger than what we're already seeing. And that's going to have a major influence, of course, on weather systems. So that's when we're going to see a lot of flooding. And our potential, as I said in, I think, my 2024 predictions, the potential for the biggest earthquakes to happen would be April, August, September, and October, that 3-month window. So we have another eclipse. The one in April is not the only one. We have another big one coming up in October. 2 back-to-back, of course, as always. So will Canada have a lot of fires this summer like last summer? Well, I'm happy to report that it will not be as bad as last year. And part of that is what Spirit shows me is also connected to what happened over there in Hawaii. So I guess there's one of those areas. I know a lot burned in Canada, but one of those areas is one of the areas where they plan to put a smart city, where lots of homes, Spirit says, were burned and such, which I'm sure happened again in lots of places in Canada. I think they actually even list it somewhere on the WEF website. You have to go on there and look. They list that stuff. It's kind of creepy. So fires in Canada. They will not be as bad. There will be one particular fire that will be severe, but something's going to shift with the weather to help that become more contained. We're going to see fires more in South America this year. Lots of stuff burning in South America. Now, California should be pretty wet right now, right? California shouldn't be having some fires, but they will. Of course they will. They're not done, Spirit said. They're not done with California and the land grabs that they want along the coast of California and Northern California. So Northern California needs to be aware of fires and such through the season coming up. Hi, Joseph. Will we have a new financial system? Nasara Jasara. What will happen with that's all? That's more than one question. It's one question. So I didn't know what that Nasara Jasara was. So I looked it up. And this is what it is. Nasara refers to a conspiracy theory promoted by Shawnee Goodwin, also known as the Dove of Oneness, that all debts will be wiped out. Now, also there's NASARA, which is the National Economic Security Recovery Act, set to propose economic forums in the United States suggested during the 1990s. So which one are you talking about? Are you talking about the conspiracy theory, as they call it, whether it is or not? Or are you talking about NASIRA, the National Economic Security and Recovery Act? Because I could see them enacting that. But as far as everybody's debt being completely wiped out, that's good wishful thinking. In the future, when we go onto the new earth, then that would be a different story because we will be starting in a different way. But as far as everybody's debts being completely wiped out, not anytime soon, I can assure you that. Not anytime soon. Now, when we reach the new earth, 2032, ask that question again, because then I could see. Remember, in my past predictions, I did talk about a point where somebody was going to hack into something and wipe out everything. But they would have to get into, because they have all that stuff backed up on hard drives and everything possible. But I remember you struck up a past prediction, and I remember saying that something would be wiped out. Not everything, but something. Not sure what that was. Like some credit card company, something along those lines. Interesting. Moving back. Where was I here? Financial system. I did that one. Question. Why is most of those who got the gift of our future to a certain degree have to be predictions only of drama, stress, panic, worry, etc.? Well, first off, I've done videos specifically on top 10, top 20 positive predictions. And guess what? Nobody watched it. Well, not nobody. People watched it, but it got like very little views. Not even a half of what a video normally would get. And I do very much hold the intention when I do predictions, always put positive stuff in there. But when you're tapping into the world timeline and you're tapping into that, of course, those events that seem to be drama, stress, panic, worry, as you say in your question, are actually events that must take place in order to shift humanity. Unfortunately, think about it like in your life. Sometimes things go so wrong in your life and you're like, WTF, but then afterwards, something better comes out of it. Whether you have a different mindset, whatever, but there's something always good comes out of it in the end. So that's probably the other reason, because when you're tapping into that timeline, that's what overpowers our planet right now, unfortunately, is the negative events. Negative events that will, again, in turn, become good in the long run. And I do bring up good stuff quite often. So I don't know about the others because I don't watch anybody else. You shouldn't watch others when you do predictions yourself because it would sabotage your mind. Regardless of what anybody tells you, you should not be watching other ones. So, Sarah, didn't I answer that question already? I did answer that question already. Hope you're all having a good day so far. Good morning if you're on the other side of the planet. A good evening if you're on the east coast of Pennsylvania. Let's see. The Temple Mound. Could that be the wall, the weeping wall that will be falling. So to include people in that might be new and haven't tuned in before on Tuesday's show, because every Tuesday we go over world events, how they may or may not relate to predictions and prophecy with new predictions every Tuesday. And on Tuesday, I think it was just this past Tuesday, I got a message from Spirit that simply said a great wall will fall. A great wall will fall. My first thing that popped in my brain, and again, this is just probably just instant brain reaction, is the Great Wall of China, right? A great wall will fall. Wouldn't it be that? Which is interesting because people don't realize, if you look at the Great Wall of China and how they say that that was built to protect the Chinese people during whatever dynasty, you know that that's actually incorrect. If you actually look at the wall where the carved out sections are for archers to be with their, bow and arrows, they're actually carved out facing China, not facing the other direction. So it's more like somebody else was protecting themselves from China. So could it be the Temple Mount? I don't believe so. And I do know that I did make a prediction in the past month, 2 months, that there would be some type of a event that would happen around the Temple Mount. Not so good event. More felt like more of an attack event. But as far as the wall falling down there, no. Now, I will say that part of the wall in Israel could fall, part of it, not the whole wall, but part of it. As far as this great wall falling, I don't know. If Spirit don't tell me, I can analyze only the way y'all we can analyze together. Because as you know, Spirit shows things, sometimes they need to be interpreted. But again, as time progresses, I often get more information as time progresses. So that's why, again, it's important to tune in every Tuesday. Set your notifications, click the bell and the all. And then you got to check your notifications too, as well. So no, to answer that question, are they really going to release the Disease X? Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything. No, not exactly the way they're saying. They're using that as their example. And the X and the 6 vibration, the back their example. China already did create several new bugs, according to what Spirit just said. And they would be the ones that would be the ones releasing it first on their own people. And that could happen in 2025. Spirit makes me feel like don't worry about it, though. It's nothing to be focused on or worried about. They are, doing their little preps for something, but I feel like they're not going to be successful. They might take out some people, but they're not going to be successful. And they're not going to call it X, they'll call it something else. They're using that as an example, Spirit says, and I don't even know what that means. I can only tell you what the spirits tell me. Where did my chat go? Welcome, Elizabeth and Bex's 22. Maria. Didn't I say hi to Maria already? Crystals. Lots of crystals. Dubai implementing no visa, no passport entry. Something about it you can tell us? No, because I know nothing about it, honestly. My first instinct when I read that question is that's not going to happen. Because when they implement that, they're going to regret it. And it's not going to happen. But what Spirit does show me is all this surveillance like they have in China. You see all this surveillance going in, and maybe that's how they're trying to implement this, by putting in all this surveillance. That's what I'm being shown now. Like even more high grade surveillance than what they have in China. They're using China as an example. So yeah, they're doing that in Dubai, like literally. So anybody in Dubai, maybe you can tell us about that. Maybe you see them installing the 5G, what do you call them? Street lights and such. Yeah. A giant smart city, Spirit said. A giant smart city. Wouldn't mind going and checking that out. I bet it'd be a cool place. Is Apophis the same as the planet called Planet X, the destroyer planet of the crossing? Where you got that from? Nibiru, or whatever people call it. If not, is there information about the coming of Planet X and when? Again, that is all. I did a very thorough, I think, hour-long, complete, in-depth video on this. complete in depth. And again, if you missed it, you're going to want to see that video. It's a good one. Talks about the Hopi prophecy and how it aligns with actually other prophecies, including the Bible. Bible, it's Planet X and Planet Wormwood, two separate things. So Planet X would be connected to the same as Nibiru. The Great Destroyer is the red star planet, according to the Hopi people. First, the blue star comes, soon after, the red star comes, and the earth begins to shake. And that's in their prophecy. Because as this red planet, the Great Red Destroyer, that's what they call it, the Great Red Destroyer. And in ancient Babylonian, is it ancient Babylonian? One of those ancient cultures where they got this from in the stone carvings. Nibiru actually means the crossing, the word the crossing. So it's like basically you could say the bridge is a Nibiru because you're crossing over the water. So it means the crossing. So they're two separate things. So the blue star would be equivalent to the planet Wormwood, which would be a comet. And that comet, I truly believe, is also related to what we now today call Apophis. And Apophis in ancient mythology represents the Great Destroyer. Interesting, right? So if the Hopi call and predict that there's a Great Destroyer, the Great Red Destroyer is coming, right? They name it Comet Apophis after the god of war and destruction. Come on, there's no coincidence there, friends. Again, go and look that video up. It's titled April 13th, 2029. It's in depth, and you'll find out all the answers to that question in depth. But to sum it up in a short summary, they are two separate things, but they're related to the same exact prophecy. Prophecies, and I forget who else is in that. Nostradamus, Edgar Casey. It's all of them. All of the prophecies that I found that aligned perfectly with each other are in that video. It's creepy, actually. So, if you're faint of heart, you don't want to watch it. But it's coming. And it's coming twice. Because the blue star, the comet, comes right next to the earth. I mean, like, we will be outside looking in the sky. Everybody will see it. No matter where you are, everybody will see it. And even the Bible says everybody will see what's coming in the skies. It doesn't say that exactly, but something like that. And it's going to come around the sun. And then in 2032, it comes back around and goes by us a second time. Or 2036, I'm sorry. I think it's 2036. So it comes by us twice. And as the big red planet, Nibiru, which is believed to be where the Anunnaki people live, the Anunnaki people that they believe allegedly built the pyramids, that it comes... its orbit is around two suns, our sun and another sun that we don't see. And it's every, I think, 3,300 years or something like that it comes back around, around the planet Earth. And that's when it causes major shifts, not just in the Earth, but all planets in our galaxy. So you look, there's been articles, Mars having the biggest dust storms ever on record. We see climate changing on other planets, all of them. Why? It's not cows farting, friends. How are cow farts getting to Mars? Right? They want you to think that that's what it is. It's all that, so they can make you do what they want. Why they stock up all their meat underneath in their caverns for when the time comes. They know what's coming. But Spirit told me way back that it wouldn't be as severe as it was the last time. The flood of Noah, the fall of Atlantis. Every so many thousand years it happens. It's in all the history. Scientists have looked up the time cycles, so we know it's coming. It's just this is the information they don't want you to know about, because they don't want to cause mass hysteria. Instead of like building cities for all of us in the earth, no, it's just for them and their little rich friends that worship the dark gods. Anyway, go check out that video. I recently heard something weird to do with the silver cord that is attached to each of us. I heard that a person's silver cord can only reach so far. And if you are not a good person and want extra cord, you can take it from another. Disturbing. That is not correct. We do have a silver cord. That is correct. It's just like the umbilical cord that connects us to our body from our soul. So, like, remember dreams when you were a kid that you were flying? Chances are you were flying astral projection. We do, all of us did it as kids. And I used to be able to I used to do a spiritual group in Philly, and I used to actually be able to pull people with me. We would like literally tie our hands together. We were like 20, and I was able to pull people with me in astral projection, which was really pretty cool. I do not know, that the cord comes to an end. Knock on wood, it hadn't happened to me. And somebody can definitely not steal any of your silver cord. They would have to cut the cord, which would mean you wouldn't be able to get back to your body. So that wouldn't happen. But the silver cord is a real thing. And when we pass away, that cord's severed and we're able to cross over to the heavens. That's an interesting thing. Interesting question. I didn't see that earlier when I was putting these up. How do you receive messages from loved ones in spirit? How can we receive messages from loved ones in spirit? Well, first and foremost, your thoughts and words are the blueprints to your future, but your thoughts and the things that pop up in your mind out of the blue, your thoughts are not always you. That's what I was going to say, not your thoughts and words. Your thoughts are not always you. So things that pop up in your mind randomly, like try this one. When somebody you haven't talked to in a long time randomly pops in your mind, hurry up and call them or text them. And I guarantee they were just thinking or talking about you at that exact moment in time, because we're all connected. We're all like a thread connected to the divine. So we're all connected. That's why saying and talking bad things about people, that affects them. And then it boomerangs around and hits you back 3 to 10 times over. So you don't want to do that. It affects people energetically. Everything's energy. Everything's connected to energy. So pay attention to the things that pop up in your mind, because we get 3 thoughts. We get our own thoughts, of course. We pick up on thoughts of other people. And then we pick up thoughts that are actually coming from our guardian angels, which are the link to our deceased loved ones and ancestors. That without them, they wouldn't be able to come to us. So first thing, when somebody pops up in your mind that's deceased, even a pet, and all of a sudden you get the goosey bumps, the hair stands up on your neck, or you start to get emotional, that is because they're with you at that exact moment in time. Our loved ones are always up on this other level and they can see everything that happens in our lives. I don't know how, but they can. They know everything that's happening. And every once in a while, they come down at our side. That's when you randomly think of them again, get the goosebumps or emotional, and they come down at your side, especially when you're having a very hard, challenging time, or when it's a special occasion, your birthday, holiday, what have you. They're always there for that. So that's the first thing. And pay attention to the littlest tiny things, because it's the littlest things you have to acknowledge as signs from loved ones in spirit before you start to get the bigger things. You have to acknowledge. And again, the simple thought of them popping up in your mind is the first way of acknowledging them and being like, hey, I know you're here. Talk to them. Hey, I know you're here. You don't have to do it out loud either. They can hear your thoughts as well. But that's how you know. You can connect with your own loved ones better than anybody because they're your loved ones. It's just you weren't taught. There's also other methods of divination for communicating with loved ones that are passed, such as like what Dr. Raymond Moody talked about. He actually built one in his garage. I would love to go to his house and try it out, where you gaze and basically your loved ones pop up in front of you and communicate with you. So that's a method you can do yourself. A method of scrying, actually, like I did yesterday with weather predictions. If you missed weather predictions yesterday, go check that out. A form of scrying with just a regular mirror at your own reflection and getting yourself into that trance state. And it takes a while. It takes a lot of practice, but eventually they will pop up in front of you and start communicating with you. You can read some of Dr. Raymond Moody's books. I forget which book it was that he wrote about that, but it was a good book. Way back when I used to do Blog Talk Radio, he was on my show. I actually did an event with Raymond Moody in Toronto, Canada years ago too. Okay, I said that already. Oh God, why do people have to ask about the darn election and politics? Like, who cares? I guess they do, right? I guess you care, right? Who's gonna win? All I know right now is Spirit keeps telling me things are already arranged, being arranged. That's about all I can say. Things are being arranged for a double win. And as of now, it's looking like that double win's coming. interesting because I remember Spirit telling me way back in what year was it? 2020, that I saw Kamala Harris taking oath. We also have the elections that are in Russia. And of course, Putin's going to get it again. Of course he is. Spirit's like, that's rigged too. That one's rigged too. Of course it is. He's been in power for decades. Like that's crazy. That's a long time. But yeah, he'll get it again. And so will the old guy. But I still see Kamala taking an oath. So I thought it would happen before this next election. Let's hope not, because that means we're going to have to deal with her even longer. Because again, he'll be gone and then she'll be there. And she don't want it, according to the Spirit. She don't want it, and she'd be very, very bad at it. So just holding the light. Somebody else steps in, a miracle happens, and no matter where you're at, too. This person didn't even say what election. They just said election. I'm just assuming that it was the United States. They want to turn the Netherlands and part of Belgium and Germany into a tri-state. Spirit says it kind of already is. Like the capital of the EU with 40 million people who have to live in this big city. Will they succeed? No. Yes and no. Mainly no. And you're on your behalf, mainly no. Yes and no. It'll fall apart quickly, Spirit says. It'll fall apart quickly. Because it could work. Spirit says it could work. It could be beneficial in a way if they did it right. But of course, their intentions behind it aren't doing it right. And things, as we approach the end of this decade by 2030, things that aren't right and aren't working ain't working anymore. Remember, we can't take all that to the new earth. That's why all this corruption and all these amazing things are going to happen in the near future, very near future. Will the West Coast government turn red? I'm not even tuning into that question. I really not even. It's already turning red, Spirit said. It's already turning red. California's in for some big problems. It has nothing to do with the colors at all. Big, big problems. It's just going to get even bigger, especially next year. I don't know what's happening next year, but especially next year. So I don't know if y'all got elections. I don't know if your elections change in California. I don't follow that. Maybe that's why. But the Spirit says especially next year. Is there anything that's too general of a question. You got to be very, very specific on your questions when we do this. What do you see happening with the United States Postal Office? There's a huge problem with unions and the workers, especially on the rural side. I agree, because I live in the rural, and I learned, and I didn't know this, I learned out here in the rural areas of Sedona and surrounding areas that the post office doesn't deliver our mail. It's actually a private contractor. And what I also gathered is that it's one guy that owns all the routes, in the immediate area. He bought them all up, bought up all the routes, or however it works. I don't know how it works, but and he had major problems because I don't know. I know me and several neighbors called the post office many times complaining that our mail wasn't coming, or they were delivering it in the wrong addresses. Especially in the summertime, they just don't come up here. They just don't want to come up here. Too much traffic. And that's the private contractor. But as the post office, they would come up here regardless. And sometimes it is the post office that delivers to us when their private contractors aren't delivering like they're supposed to be. But yeah, the post office is doing that now, hiring private contractors, kind of like Amazon with their deliveries and delivering. And that's where the post office is going. Post office needs to do something really, really quick, because Spirit shows me a vision of the post office as a ship. I see a big ship out at sea with U.S. Post Office on it, and I see it sinking, and it's sinking quick, like the Titanic. So it's sinking. And when things shift and change in the United States, whatever goes on with the post office, many of those people will still have jobs in some other sector, according to Spirit. I don't know what other sector. They'll be offered opportunity. Not that they'll take it or want to take it, but they will be. A majority of them. I guess it would be depending on their age, which is really so not cool. Is silver going to outperform gold? And when is that going to happen? Well, we can't put timestamps on predictions, that's for sure. Can't do that. Doesn't work. Things shift, timelines shift, and so forth. But I've been telling you for a long time that silver always outperforms gold. If you look at the history, I remember it was, I think back in 2010, 2011, I told people to buy silver, that it was going to skyrocket, and it did. And then it plummeted back down, but people that invested would have made a ton of money off silver. Silver is used in all the electronic components, especially all the solar panels. All the solar panels use silver. They use other elements too, but silver is a big one. That was part of the shortage on silver and why silver went up so high back in 2010 or 11 or whatever year that was, because of the solar panels. So yeah, that's going to happen again. But be aware they do, of course, manipulate it all. So keep a very close eye on precious metals, Spirit says, because there'll be a very short window in there where you can make out really good. And you'll notice it'll be an obvious drop before the rise. And when it rises to a specific point, then that's when they're going to drop it all. And that may not be till next year. But yeah, for now, still, I've been buying silver. I got some silver right here. Right here. I got some more somewhere. Got some that Sandra sent me. A bunch of other people. Speaking of which, did somebody email me? Oh, I can look at my phone. I forgot. So moving right along. What time is it? We've been here almost an hour. Almost an hour. Okay. Hello. Love your video and try never to miss one. It's important. You don't want to miss one. You might miss really good, juicy information. My question is, what does Spirit say about the organization by the name of Connecting Consciousness? Connecting Consciousness. It's a good concept. It's a grassroots concept, but unfortunately, it's not going to go far. That's what Spirit says. There's going to be a new movement that kind of intersects with that movement, taking it to a different level. And then it'll be successful. So there's that connecting consciousness is missing an element, is what Spirit shows me. It's like missing an element. It's not going together. And that element could be literally a completely separate grassroots organization. Be weary, Spirit says. Just be weary. I don't know why, but be weary. Hello. Love your video and try. Oh, I said, did I put that twice in a row? I did put that twice in a row. Is California's housing market going to crash? Isn't it already starting to? Thank you, JD, with infinite love and gratitude for that. Pay your chat cash. I appreciate that. So the housing market is definitely frozen and is definitely going to have its crashes between now and the end of next year. That's going to have a lot to do with the big economy and economic changes that are coming. Remember, more than anything, they don't want you to buy a house. They meaning the global elite. Remember, BlackRock and their affiliates are buying up everything, every property, every house. Remember, you will own nothing and be happy, according to Klaus Schwab. And that's what they want. And that's what BlackRock's doing, buying up every property they can. So look for a crash point. There will be not as bad as it was back in 2005. It won't be that bad, Spirit says, but be aware because it's being manipulated. Spirit says it'll be manipulated so that they can go in and again buy up properties in certain areas. So you'll see, Spirit shows me housing markets crashing in different places where, of course, they want them houses. They want that land. And California is one of them, Spirit says. So certain areas, especially in the northern part, Spirit says, you'll see certain areas, certain neighborhoods crashing, which is interesting. I don't know why that would happen. But you'll find out really soon. So it's not time to buy a house. It's time to sell a house. I will tell you that too. Definitely not time to buy one. And I know some people don't have a choice and you got to do what you got to do and know that the universe is going to take care of you and everything's going to be okay. But at the same time, definitely not time to buy a house. Not in the United States anyway. I don't know what it's like other places, but I imagine it's pretty close to the same. What does it mean when I wake up every night around 3 a.m.? Almost every night, besides I don't sleep well. Well, you don't sleep well. I don't know what that's all about, but waking up at 3 a.m., 3 a.m. is the witching hour, baby. Not midnight. That's a misconception. Total misconception. It is totally the witching hour. It's like that time. That's when you get woken up by loved ones. I've received so many messages in the past to pass on to others, clients, and myself at the middle of the night at 3 a.m. in the morning. So always, if you wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning, always if you're waking up from a dream and remembering that dream, make sure you write it down because that's even more important. That you're being woken up at 3 a.m. remembering with clarity your dream. Because once you go back to sleep and wake up the next morning, you're not going to remember the clarity of that dream. So write that down. Pay attention to anybody that pops up in your mind at 3 in the morning, loved ones and such, because and also when it comes to ghost activity, because I've done many, many ghost hunts. I've been on many haunted mansions and wild. 3 a.m. is a witching hour. I remember when we were in the Eastern State Penitentiary filming for the Travel Channel, filming a show that's on my YouTube. Goes back, I think, God, it was a long time ago, but it was cool. And I remember being there at 3 a.m. in the morning during a thunderstorm. And boy, the thunder and lightning also stir up the energies big time. It definitely stirs up the energy. So yeah, 3 a.m., especially 3 a.m. during a thunderstorm. If you got a ghost or spirit, a ghost really on your house or property, yeah, very active at 3 in the morning. They start around 1 in the morning, but by 3 a.m., they're wild. It's like that whole period, a couple hours before. So 1 a.m. till 5 a.m., but 3 a.m. being the dead center. It's very interesting. What other guidance can you give us about this shift? There's so much. I mean, I already told you all about the shifting and everything. It's all about shifting our consciousness, shifting our beliefs. That's why they pumped out all that UFO stuff last year. Last year was the 7 vibration. The 7's all about your beliefs and changing your beliefs. And they did that on purpose, pumped out all that UFO stuff to try to shift you in your belief system, to make people become afraid of it. Why would they do that? Because they're crazy psychopaths, really, literally. So, and it affects us. Like I said, go watch the video I did, the 13 stages of ascension. That can help you. But the shift shifts everything. That's why it's called the shift. It shifts the earth. It shifts the earth's plates. It shifts the energy. It shifts the way we believe, what we think, and what we're not going to put up with anymore. That's the best part. And people are getting to that point where they're just not putting up with it anymore. That's when we step into our power, and that's when we make the best changes happen. And that's what's going to happen. People are going to rise up. It's going to be amazing. Amazing. This year's just a start. This year is just a big kicker in making things change. But wait till now through 2029. And the next big kicker this year and 2029 is going to be a big kicker too. Big, big one. Big, big one. Can you read about the 1.4 million Palestine homes and lives destroyed? The cattle, 10, blah, 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 85% of Gaza, everything destroyed. I know it's sad. I don't know what your question is, though. Why, Joseph, does the world turn away? I can't say that word on YouTube, but the G word, paid by the US. What justice will there be for 75 years of blah, blah? Yes, I say blah, blah because I can't say those. I don't want to say those words, certain words. I have no answer. There's not really specifically a question. I don't have an answer why, besides the fact that the world's ran by a bunch of sicko psychopaths. Other than that, I don't have an answer. Other than also what Spirit said earlier, all of these things are happening to awaken humanity. Seeing that awfulness of what happened is waking people up. Like, what are you doing? What's the United States doing? What's this? What's Israel? What are they doing? So it is waking people up, and that would be the bottom line behind it, along with the psychopaths, of course. It is. It's a very sad thing, very awful thing. All conflict is awful to me. All conflict. And I saw that this morning that even a hospital was just boomed and by Ukraine, not in Ukraine, by Ukraine. So it's just awful. Hospitals, like a hospital. What the hell's wrong with people, folks? What is wrong with people? Will the super volcano Campy, I don't even, Flagree, Campy Flagree in Italy erupt due to increased earthquake activity? There's not going to be the super volcano. I don't know what that super volcano, you say super volcano. When I hear super volcano, I think of Yellowstone National Park. I don't know if it's like that, but I don't see any eruptions of super volcanoes happening. Italy is going to have some major eruptions in the future. And again, I'm looking more closer to 2029, but you're going to see that in the very near future too. It was in my weather predictions that I did yesterday, and the map scrying I did where I gazed at the map and brought out information. So I would tell you to go back to that, because when I'm gazing at the map, I don't remember anything that I said, actually. That's the problem with trance. You don't remember, don't have a good memory or recollection of things. So, but I don't get that that's going to blow. No, I do not. Other volcanoes nearby, but not that. So no worries on that one. Howdy, Joseph. My question is, will they, the government, make the V mandatory or compulsory because of disease X? Y'all are too worried about that disease X. Don't worry about the disease X. I tell you, just don't worry about it. Just don't worry. Even though they use the X for something. And I swear somebody asked me that question. I only have 2 questions left here, and we're at an hour. So will they make it mandatory? No, because people aren't going to tolerate that now at all. They're going to try. They're going to try to do a lot of things in the future that people are not going to put up with. See, that's the part of the shift and the awakening, is that we're getting to that point where what happened in 2020 was a wake-up call for humanity, a wake-up call about big pharma, a wake-up call about our governments. It was just a lot of wake-up calls in that, and the potential of what can happen in our world, not having food or people making our food and so forth. So they're all big, gigantic wake-up calls. And now people are awakened, not enough yet, but they will be, that they're not going to put up with that. People are going to be like, we're not doing it. We're not doing it. And in the future, when it comes to a V push, it's not going to be, again, as I said earlier, disease X. It'll be some other name that they'll come up with. There'll be several. But again, Spirit says don't be worried or focused on that right now. The only one that should be really kind of concerned about that are people that live in China, is what Spirit says, because that's where they're testing it all. They're the ones that should be concerned. So someone asked me, and I don't see that question here, about what is this. I'll just remember what they said. What is the symbology around the letter X? Because we're hearing X everything, friends. We really are. You're hearing about, Elon Musk has SpaceX. He has his Tesla X. Now he has the X platform. The letter X, first of all, in numerology, is a representative of the number 6. So it looks like Musk has 3 6s now. Think about it, 666, because it's exactly what the X is, and numerology is 6. Also, it's the 24th letter of the alphabet. So 4 plus 2 is 6 again. Not that that has any relevance, because it doesn't, but it is the 24th letter. But it represents the number 6. X is also, and I brought this up. Here, let me find it. The letter X often symbolizes something unknown, with the air of mystery that can be appealing. Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla Model X, and now X. X signifying also the end of something, an entity whose existence is over, past, dead, or gone. Here, perhaps, we have X as the most... It doesn't matter. That has nothing to do with what we're looking for. So the X, I don't know why they're obsessed with the X, but Elon Musk turned that into X, the platform. And then right after that, we heard about the disease X. Did you notice all the movies with the X in it lately over the past year as well? And remember Madonna did that whole thing calling herself Madam X? I bet you it's representative of some dark entity. I bet you. That's what just popped in my mind, Madam X. And I bet you it's a female entity. That's just, again, a guess and just what came to my mind. But I have no answer as to why they're obsessed with it, other than it represents the number 6. And Elon Musk now has 3 6s. I find that to be pretty fascinating, actually. Any insights on what lies ahead for South Africa? Well, we have an election coming up in May. Best wishes from South Africa. Another place I would love to go visit one day in the future. There's going to be a lot of corruption, a lot more corruption in South Africa. A lot more corruption that's going to, again, cause people to rise up even more. Whatever happens, again, it's backed actually by WEF. So whoever the WEF is backing as your candidates, that's who's going to win. And it's complete corruption. So, and you know how you can find out too, you can go to the WEF website and see who their members are and look them up and see if one of the candidates you have there in South Africa is a member. But Spirit says it's backed. Your elections in South Africa are backed by being pushed by the Bilderberg Group and of course Klaus Schwab and the WEF. Should be interesting. But in the long run, Spirit says it'll be good for your people when they wake up and step into their power, and they will over the next few years. So hang in there. Thank you, Rosie. Rosie. So many people are predicting predicting for that date that either a massive volcanic activity or a meteorite is going to hit the ocean between the Philippines and Japan, which would cause an unprecedented catastrophic event for Japan. Do you feel anything on this prediction? Thank you, dear Joseph, for all your hard work and sharing your gift. So, no. Spirit saying no, that's not going to happen exactly like that. When the time comes, Apophis, there will be meteors that will strike our planet. No doubt about it. Remember that movie with, wasn't it Russell Crowe? Wasn't he the one in that movie a couple years ago with the meteors? Kind of like that. Not as many, though. Spirit's like, not as many. And that's not what you need to worry about, friends in Japan and the Philippines. It won't be that. The catastrophic events that happen over the next decade in that area of the globe are all going to be caused from earthquakes, mainly. Earthquakes and some big floods on the southern parts of Japan and then throughout the Philippines. The Philippines is at the highest risk right now, Spirit says, for a tsunami. The Philippines, again, is the highest risk, according to my spirit guides, right now for a tsunami in the near future, which would mean that there would be a small one, I would imagine, that would hit some part of Japan, small. And it might be the part where the volcanic islands are, and it won't affect anybody anyway. So I don't do personal questions in here because I don't know you, so I can't really do a reading on you through a chat room, Rosie, who asked to find the right school for her son, Jack, who has special needs. Here's how you find the right school. Let universe bring it to you. Manifest. The power of manifesting. You can make it happen by putting it out to the universe, by saying, thank you, universe, for opening me up and bringing me the best potential school for Jack. You can use this affirmation for anything, by the way, friends. Thank you for opening me up and bringing me blank, blank, blank. I teach this in one of my courses. And then you finish it with, that is for the good of me and the good of all and helps me reach my fullest potential. My happy, joyful, abundant destiny. Thank you, universe. I love you, universe. And I got that affirmation, 2015 from my spirit guides. And I teach that affirmation in my classes, and it works. You got to do affirmations at least 3 times a day minimum. So thank you for opening me up and bringing me, because you want to be open because we have doorways that are closed and you want universe to bring it to you. So thank you for opening me up and bringing me blank, 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 blank. That is for the good of me and the good of all and helps me reach my fullest potential and happy, joyful, abundant destiny and get excited. Thank you, universe. I love you, universe. And here's the key to this. It will show up. It'll just show up. You don't have to go seeking, searching, and stressing yourself out. It'll come to you in some way or another. Kind of like when I was looking for a place out in Sedona when I was back east. I couldn't find a place for the longest time, months. So I gave up and I said, you know what? I'm not going to look anymore. I'm just going to let universe bring it to me. And I said that to a friend and he laughed at me. He actually literally laughed in my face. So, really? You think that's going to happen? And it did. Somebody called me up and offered me a place randomly and it happened and got me here. That's how powerful that affirmation is. And I'm going to leave you with that now because it is 6:30 and I really want to try to go get some food. I think it's probably a crap show in Sedona, but I'm going to try. And I will be back, of course, on Tuesday, maybe even sooner. You just never know when the Spearman's going to pop up. Remember, I'll do another Q&A. We'll do one each month. So we're at the end of February, so I'll probably do another Q&A in a couple of weeks. I'll let you know on Tuesday's show when to post your questions so that we can go through your questions. I am so happy that you hung out with me for this special edition. Happy full moon to you all. That comes in just over 11 and a half hours, right? No, 11 hours. 11 hours and 4 minutes is the full moon. It's going to be a good one. Take advantage of it. Have an amazing, awesome weekend, and I will see you in the future. Tuesday, I hope. I'll be there. I hope you're there too. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. Celebrate life, celebrate you. Be kind to others as you wish others be kind to you. And of course, remember to be bold, be true, be kind, be you, because you are freaking awesome. And I wish you the best weekend ever. Now I got to figure out how to close this. There we go. Much love, friends. Much love.